The Nigerian government has been paying attention to gold with regards to the informal sector and trying to formalize the mining of gold and also trying to clamp down on smuggling. So we have a guest here to analyze what's going on the international markets, what's going on with gold as far as the government focus is on the local side of things. The head of research at financial derivatives company, Damilola Akingbami, is joining me live. Damilola, good morning to you. So please, can you give us a read on how you're seeing things with the movements in price of gold on the international markets?
Good morning, Rotus. So like you rightly said, we've seen gold prices actually record another high. This is the highest level ever in history, above $2,000 per ounce. And gold is a precious metal, so it's not just unique to gold. Several precious metals, even silver too, are recording significant highs in their price levels. And this is basically because of the heightened uncertainty. Usually in times of uncertainty, you see investors run towards safe haven assets because of to hedge against the uncertainty that is going on. And right now, there's a lot of it going on. We know that there's the rising concern about a resurgence in infection cases of COVID around the world. We are also aware of the fact that also the global economy is weakening and is faltering, and a recovery is not expected until sometime in 2021. Of recent, the more recent cause of uncertainty is the attack or the blast that occurred in Beirut in Lebanon overnight, and which led to several fatalities. So that also contributed to the spike in gold prices that we are seeing. And also, the dollar has been weakening against a basket of currencies, and there is an inverse relationship between the price of the dollar and the value of the gold. So obviously, these are some of the reasons that we're seeing this uptick in the price of gold. And like I mentioned also that about precious metals, silver too is recording an increase in its price. The price of silver, the spot price of silver has increased by about 30% year to date, while the price of gold has increased about 32% year to date. And even analysts at Deutsche Bank are even projecting that the increase in the price of silver might even outweigh the price increase of gold, because silver has a lot of industrial uses, and as industrial consumption picks up, we're going to see that manifest, and that boosts the demand for silver. So these are some of the reasons why we're seeing prices increase for safe haven assets such as gold.
Solid stuff, Damilola, solid stuff. So quick recap, the infections, COVID-19 infections, weakening GDP, also the blasts in Beirut yesterday, causing investors to get nervous, dollar weakening as well, all this pushing this rally in gold. Thank you for that, and precious metals. So question is, if one is thinking, okay, maybe I should jump in here, how long do you think this rally can last as far as gold is concerned?
Well, the rally is likely to continue because, one, the market fundamentals are likely to change in the next, at least for the rest of 2020. So that rally is expected to continue. And as long as there's heightened uncertainty, we're going to see gold prices continue. And more especially because the value, like I mentioned, the inverse relationship between the value of the dollar and the price of gold. So there's reduced trust in fiat currencies, especially the dollar. And as the dollar weakens against other currencies, the value of gold in other currencies becomes cheaper, and that would boost demand, and it's going to continue to support the price of that metal. So the rally is definitely going to continue. Some are even projecting that the price at $2,000, that we might $2,000 per ounce, we might see gold touch about $3,000 before the end of 2020. So now is actually a good time to invest, at least for those people that have gold reserves or gold bullions. They definitely would be in the money this period.
And I'll get to the Nigerian government in a sec. Can we add the U.S. elections as part of the volatility? That's coming in November. Is that playing into some of this here as we get towards, because that's November, towards the end of the year? Is that possible? Another possible reason for nervousness on behalf of investors?
Definitely, it would also play or factor into the performance of gold, and due to the investor uncertainty, more so even for silver, because I read a report stating that if there is a Joe Biden win, that actually would even spur further an increase in the price of silver based on some of the reforms he's been talking about. So definitely it plays into market sentiment, and depending on the outcome of the US elections in November, we could see that affect the price of gold too.
Thank you for that. So investors have to hedge their bets as to whether they think Trump or Joe Biden will carry the day. I want to ask you about a generational gap between, as far as gold is concerned, between older investors and I guess maybe millennials. I don't know if I want to throw it at you. Have you heard of this gap as to what they are focusing on their attitudes towards precious metals?
Yes, we are actually seeing that, and I think it's more of a function of the risk averseness of investors. So the older generation are more risk averse compared to the younger generation, the millennials. So you see the older generation, they are spending or buying more of bond yield bond instruments. So any excess liquidity, you see them in the fixed income market because of the reduced risk involved. Some are even also participating in the equities market. But Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, that's more of a millennial thing. And we are going to see, and that's why we're seeing the demand for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies increase in the younger generation. So it's more of a function of the risk appetite of the investors. The young generation, they are more risk, they have a high risk tolerance, so they would want to venture into things like, because Bitcoin is a highly risky asset class that you have to monitor the market very regularly, unlike compared to even gold. So that's why we're seeing that generation gap in the demand for some of these asset classes.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we had a guest yesterday talking about blockchain in the afternoon. Okay, let's bring things, thank you, Damilola. Let's bring things home to Nigeria now. As far as this recent focus on gold from the federal government, if you can explain for our viewers what's been going on in that space and why the federal government is looking at gold intently.
Okay, so the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative was launched around sometime last year. And basically, what the government is trying to do is regulate the production and sale of gold in Nigeria. So basically trying to create a supply chain from the miners to the CBN. And what this is expected to do is going to obviously create or provide economic diversification, reduce the government's dependence on oil proceeds. We know that oil prices have been volatile at least so far this year. So it reduces the government's dependence on oil proceeds, and therefore you're diversifying your reserves base, you're diversifying your revenue base. So the objective of the government, one, is to regulate the mining industry with focus on the gold subsector, and also basically to create more jobs across the value chain, because right now it's non-existent, and also to address smuggling. Smuggling is a major issue. That's why they're trying to regulate that industry, because so far it's been weak to non-existent supervision, and we've seen Nigeria lose about 18 tons of gold every year to Dubai and other countries. So the government is trying to peg that, to address that smuggling issue, create more jobs along the value chain, and also basically diversify the economy.
All right, thank you for that. You mentioned the economic diversification, supply chains. What about reserves? Is that also in the mix as well, the focus on CBN reserves?
Yes, I mentioned also foreign reserves. So every country has foreign reserves. So your foreign reserves could consist of foreign currencies in dollars. So for instance, Nigeria has it in dollars, and our external reserves are down to about 35.8 billion dollars, and we also have it in yuan. You could also have your foreign reserves in the special drawing rights and also in assets such as gold. So right now, Nigeria has about 200 million ounces of gold reserves. So if the government can actually intensify its efforts, and with this initiative that is in place, it would also grow and boost the foreign reserves and less reliance on oil prices, like I mentioned earlier. So this depletion that we have been seeing is primarily because our forex supply flows have been affected from remittances flows from oil proceeds. So definitely we would see an increase in our foreign reserves. And because your external reserves are increasing because now the composition of gold in the basket has increased, it will provide more support for the currency, and that currency volatility we've been experiencing would be addressed to an extent. So definitely the foreign reserves is also part of it. And also the government stands to benefit from increased government revenue, so in terms of royalties and taxes. So the government has a lot to gain, and the economy also has a lot to gain, especially when you can attract private sector investment. we'll be able to develop the economy. We see increased growth and development of the national output. Right now, the mining sector accounts for about almost 8% of GDP and is growing about 4.58%. That was at Q1. We know that when the Q2 numbers are released later this month, we expect to see a contraction. Why? Because mining activities definitely were affected because, again, the mines provide, it's like a good platform for the coronavirus to spread further. So a lot of mining activities were halted. Even in other countries like South Africa and Zambia, they had to close down their mines just to stop the spread of the virus. So we're going to see that contraction in Q2 growth numbers. But with this initiative and with this focus in the gold industry, we expect that at least as the economy recovers, Q3 into 2021, we should see a pickup in gold output, the growth and contribution to overall GDP.
Great stuff. Thank you, Damilola. But do you think the government may have missed out? If you look at the rally we just talked about with how gold prices have shot up, do you think maybe this should have been done like last year or the year before, so the government could have, cashed in on the rally that we're seeing right now on gold? Or is it better late than never?
Like you said, I was just going to say that better late than never. So the most important thing right now is that at least the government has identified that this is another opportunity for it to expand its base, for it to tap into what is going on. So I think they're on the right track. Right now, we know that we have about 2 gold refineries that have been developed, and we should expect to see a pickup. But again, there are still some challenges that are being faced in that industry. We talked about smuggling, so that is being addressed, and with the borders that have been closed since last year, August, so that has been addressed to an extent. Also, power is a major issue. I talked about South Africa and Zambia. There are state energy companies, so the ZESCO in Zambia and Sasol in South Africa, they've been experiencing power shortages, and we also know in Nigeria that power supply is something that is of a major concern to manufacturing companies and even the mining industry. So that has to be addressed because you need power to be able to get the best out of your mining industry. And with the government now providing like an in-between between the miners and the buyers, basically they're going to uptake the gold so that they protect them from currency, from gold price volatility. So that would also provide an incentive to gold miners to actually be more invested in the mining of gold. So I think if these challenges are addressed, better late than never, the government is on the right track. We should be able to benefit from it. And again, it's in cycles. Even if we may have missed out on quite a few uncertainties, recession, economic contractions will still occur down the line. So as we're anticipating a recovery in 2021, anything can happen in the next 5, 6, only God knows how many years, and then there's another cycle. And like I mentioned earlier, gold thrives in uncertainty, whether economic uncertainty, whether financial uncertainty, whether political uncertainty, gold thrives.
All right. Thank you so much, Damilola Akingbami, Head of Research at Financial Derivatives Company, taking us through the price appreciation in gold on international markets and how, of course, the federal government of Nigeria can benefit from this with regards to their focus on mining right here on Nigerian soil by shutting down smuggling and making sure they are off-takers for the artisans that will be producing there. Damilola, thank you so much. We appreciate your insights.